All right, folks, welcome to episode 4 of the Marketing Automation Migration. Previously on the show, we have talked about why I'm making this move, evaluation of vendors, and which vendor I chose. We also looked at inventorying and collecting all the pieces. In the most recent episode, we got the Amazon Simple email service set up and the basics of the Mautic marketing automation system. Today, we're going to tackle lists and landing pages, so forms. This is going to be, as the last episode was, very technically heavy. So if watching technology or understanding forms and HTTP post variables and stuff is not your thing, this would be a good time to just maybe take a pause, grab a drink, whatever the case may be, because it's going to get into the guts of the system. Now, if this is something that you need to do at your organization and you can't afford help, then by all means continue watching. But if you'd just like someone to do it for you, certainly this is work that I do at Shift Communications, so you can contact us at shiftcom.com if you'd rather just have someone do it rather than try and do it yourself. So, with that little caveat out of the way, let's look at lead import. Now, Mautic separates our email addresses into a couple different categories. There's lists, which are obviously the mailing lists of things, and then there also are leads. We're going to create a new list first because we want to have a bucket in which to put our leads. So let's go ahead and click new. We'll just call this newsletter subscribers, and for Christopher S. Penn, and we'll set that to public list. It is published. We'll hit save and close, and that bucket now exists. We're then going to manage our leads and do an import. Now these would be the subscribers, so I'm going to go to the CSV import here and find my subscription file, which should be under lists. In this case, I'm going to do my newsletter subscribers first. Actually, we're going to need to open that up and clean it out, because recall the last time we were in this Excel document, I needed to split it up into a couple of different pieces. One for valid subscribers, one for invalid subscribers. This one here is going to be our valid subscriber list, but it needs to be in CSV format. So easiest way to do that, just go to File and do a Save As. And we're just call this CSV newsletter clean. Hit save. Save the active sheet. Continue, go through all the warnings. And one important thing, if you are using a Mac, you will need to convert this from the Windows format that Excel tends to save into the PC format, into the Unix format that typically you would see a Unix system use. So that is done at the bottom. There's a menu for changing it to UTF-8 and also changing it from Windows format to Unix format. You don't have to do this. I would hope that these software designers have obviously put enough thought into it to import it, but I like to be on the safe side. I'm not showing you any of this, obviously, because all of the people's email addresses are publicly exposed. So with that, we should now be able to go to desktop here, email backup, and there's my clean list. We're going to open that up. The delimiter is the comma. This separates fields. The enclosure is the quote mark, and the escape is that. Hit go. Let's see what happens here. Now the lead owner obviously is me. The lead list is going to be newsletter subscribers. That's, again, why we did that first. We're going to choose first name, last name, company, email. In my list, I do not have a lot of these other fields. I don't really need them. We can do city and state with Blueview city, Blueview country, Blueview state, if we have the data. It's not essential though, and in a lot of cases, I would not have that data. It was something that was created by the previous vendor. The only other things we would want would be position or title. And we use title here to match up the campaign names. Twitter handle is marked as Twitter. And the date created, I do have creation dates in here. You do need that information if you, in order to be CAN spam compliant in the United States, just because you need to be able to say this is when the opt-in record for this person occurred. And let's see, that looks like it's good enough. We are ready to do the import. While this is doing the import to the database, the next thing we have to tackle is the forms. In Mautic, as with any marketing automation system, they provide you built-in forms, and we looked at them yesterday in the previous episode. The thing that I am concerned about is that if this web-based service were to go down for any reason, anyone trying to subscribe to an email would instead just get bounced out. They wouldn't be able to finish the submission. On my website, what I do is I use a tool called Gravity Forms. And what Gravity Forms does is it collects the data up front and then passes that data to the marketing automation software. So in this case, if we look at these form settings for what happens when someone submits this form, you can see there's a confirmation field here. This confirmation field sends this data to the old system. What I want to do is I want to create a new confirmation. I don't want to get rid of the old one just yet because it's entirely possible that it could go very, very badly. So my choices here are pages or redirects. I'm going to do a redirect. I'm going to call this Mautic. The URL is where this is going to go. So if I look at Mautic's form, what they tell me, I'm going to look for the form field here, which is right there. There's the action. Right, that's the URL that I'm going to be sending to. We want everything before the question mark. So let's copy that. And now we're going to add in the fields and match them up to Mautic's fields. So form ID equals 1 is an important field. And now we need to go dig through this form. We're looking for the input boxes because this tells us what the field IDs are. So in this case, this is the first name field right here, and first name equals, and I'm going to use my field builder here, and now we go to Mautic's last name, which is that, equals last name, and we want the email address next. Equals now let's see, job title. We want the company name next. Next up is the Twitter handle. And that should be all of the pieces that this form needs. So we're going to save this confirmation. So now what should happen is we go back to confirmations. So this redirect will now send data once someone submits it straight into Mautic from this form. So if we do a preview here, this is what would get beamed into the Mautic system. And you'll notice I have not turned off the old one yet, because we are not guaranteed that that's going to work. We'll have to do some testing. But while this import is going, we've got the forms, and I'll need to update all my forms, but for now that one email form is the one that people use the most. So let's go ahead and update our field map here. We have done lists. We have landing pages. I would say we're in the halfway through that, because I've got to do a bit more. Logos and artwork, I don't really have any other than the default stuff, and that's all hosted on Flickr, so we're going to call that done. The last thing really in the deployment section will be the templates themselves, which is getting the email templates we had previously set up, like welcome messages and stuff like that, getting those into Mautic, and that will be in the next episode. So that will be the last of the configuration episodes. Once we've got the configuration episodes, we will go ahead and go into the testing phases to make sure all of this stuff works. But we are now, I'd say, 75% done with deployment. So this is a project that should take a couple hours, probably, if you were to sit down from start to finish. Hopefully you find it useful. Stay tuned for the next episode where we finish out deployment.